Hey guys, how y'all doing? Welcome to our live stream. We are here at the Visual Arts Academy and Studios here in Louisville, Kentucky, and we do this live stream every Saturday night. And it's usually myself and Seth. Seth Jones is the co-founder and the lead instructor here at the Academy. My name is Chad Nuss. I'm one of the instructors here. I typically teach drawing classes, comics and cartoon classes, drawing or life drawing, and drawing from cast reference. And so I'll be with you tonight. Seth is actually doing a painting session tonight, so he will not be on here with me tonight. But hopefully I can make this as entertaining as possible. But for now, what I'm going to be doing is working on a cast drawing. So I'm switching it up a little bit. I've thought about switching up every single week, maybe giving a little bit of variety, and then every once in a while going back to my large landscape drawing. But right now what I'm working on is a cast drawing. And so this is for one of our classes that I teach here at the school. I teach drawing from reference casts. And I was not able to complete it in time, and so this is the one that I want to finish up as an example of a student and how you draw, or what a cast drawing would look like. And this is one of a hand, as you can see. Right now it is 6 o'clock, and unfortunately the sun is coming down right through this window right now. And so I actually look over at the cast, the sun is hitting the corner of the eye, or corner of the window is shining right into my eye. So no fun. So that will just be an issue for the next couple of minutes, but I'll persevere while I'm enjoying my winter chai and in my old man sweater and my old man tea and drawing an old man drawing. So let me take a drink here, and then I'm going to get work drawing. Oh, that's really good. So I'm a big fan of hot tea. I do not really like coffee so much. I'll drink coffee if it's got a lot of sugar and additives and all that kind of stuff in it. But as a general principle, I'm more of a hot tea guy. And I'm drinking winter chai with some honey in it, which it's not because I'm sick or because it's necessarily super cold out. The winter is trying to hold on here in Louisville, Kentucky, as it's still down in the 40s. And when I came in today in the studio, it's a little bit cold, a little bit chilly. So that's why I'm wearing my sweater. And I figured a nice bit of tea, a spot of hot tea would go great. So yes, right now I'm working on a drawing from a reference cast, and you can probably see in this camera over here in the background is my reference cast. I set up kind of a makeshift cast box. So take the box, I put a black sheet inside, or a black drape on the inside to limit the secondary light or reflected light, and really emphasizes the highlight and value contrast on the cast. And so this particular one I'm doing is of a hand, and the cast that I have over there actually has two hands, but I'm just working on one of the hands. And I'm primarily doing this with graphite. I'm using a 4H pencil right now, and I'm just very lightly putting in some tones. I did a cast drawing of some lips the last time around, and I really tried to limit how much of the blending that I was doing with the blending stump. But on this one, I'm actually using quite a bit of blending stump, just to give, partly because of the tooth on paper, when you're drawing, sometimes it leaves a lot of little texture that I don't really want, and so the blending stump helps get rid of a lot of that. So yeah, so I'm also using a bit of charcoal pencil, especially in the darkest shadows. I like the way that charcoal gives a nice matte, flat black to the shadows. And so that is, yeah, so I like to use the charcoal for that. But for the rest, I'm pretty much just using graphite pens. So I also get a lot of questions about the lead that I'm using. I've sharpened it so it's quite long and quite sharp. And then I'm also using an extender on the pencil. And I do that for a couple reasons. Mainly, the extender really helps me be very loose with the drawing, but also very precise. It's kind of an irony. Like you would think that you wouldn't be able to get very precise with this. Actually, I tend to be a little bit more precise with this than I think if I'm. I mean, obviously, if you're drawing like this, you're going to get really nice detail. But there's something about drawing like this that helps. It helps me stay loose, but also precise at the same time. It's hard to describe, I think. And that sun's probably got about 15 more minutes, and then hopefully it won't be shining right in the side of my eye. When I set the camera up, that was not happening. So didn't take that into account literally until I sat down to start this live stream. So, I was going to say, after it for a minute, you don't really see a whole lot. You get a little bit in the background, but I am basically going to have to bear with it because every time I kind of lean this way to look at the cast drawing, I'm getting sun right in my eye. It's kind of blinding. Hard to draw that way, but like I said, it should be about, 10, 15 more minutes of that, and then we'll be okay. But I kind of have an idea of what I'm supposed to be shading here. And unfortunately, I looked over and caught a bit of that sun, and so now I have a little black spot as I'm drawing. Oh, crazy. So yeah, so thank you for joining with me. I hope you're drawing as well, working on something, maybe some painting or whatever. That's one of the things that we'd love to see happen with these live streams. Is that other people get on here and they work on their drawings and paintings as well. I was saying before that I was using a blending stump, but I'm also primarily using this paintbrush. I really like using the paintbrush. It gives the blend really nice soft feel to it. Yeah. So yeah. Now it's pointless. Last couple of minutes of the sun. But for now, I'll just let's see what I got going on here. Yeah, I can see it. So yeah. So thank you all for coming by, checking us out. Like I said, we do this every Saturday from 6 to 8. Usually it's me and Seth will get on here. He's usually painting something. I've been working on a pretty large landscape last couple of months. But last week I worked on a still life in charcoal, and I was considering doing another kind of quicker charcoal with 2 hours. And I was debating on what I was going to draw, and I kept going back to drawing like a still life. I thought about maybe even drawing like a relative of mine, like a portrait or something. But then I remembered that I was still working on this, and I really want to get this done, especially going into the next round of classes. And so I thought this would be one that would be good to work on during the live session. So that is where we're at. That's what I'm working on. So right now I'm using a 4H pencil, just going in, putting in some very light tones, and once this is all in, then I start going in and putting in more and more layers of tone. So this is today was our last day of our current 8-week round of classes. And during these weeks, oh gosh, that's like right in my face now. All right. It is like, it'll pass here soon. Kind of ducking out of the way. Sorry, I'm blocking the other camera now as a result. But anyways, today was the last day of our 8-week classes for this round. And so I finished up today with a life drawing class. And then we also had a character design class that I do on Saturdays. And yeah, it was pretty much just a work day, getting their final projects done. So for the character design class, I had their final project was to pick a couple characters and do turnaround drawings, which are basically taking the character and drawing them from like 5 or 6 different angles, like front angle, 3/4, back, those kind of things. So they were pretty much working on that. And then the life drawing class, we had a model come in and worked with us for about an hour and 15 minutes. And we did the 60-second drawings. And then after that, we did a 5-minute and then a 15-minute and then a half an hour drawing. And yeah, it worked out great. So good class. I think it was helpful for the student. Oh gosh, that is like right there. All right. And as I said, when I got on here right now, I'm working on a cast drawing. So I did a drawing from reference cast class this round. And we have casts here at the academy. We have eyes, ears, noses, lips. We've got hands, and we've got feet. And we all have I think a monkey's head, or an ape head. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm a zoologist. But either way, one of those. And then we do have a skull as well. But in our class, we draw mouths, and we're supposed to draw mouths, ears, hands, feet, and torso. Oh, we also do have torso casts. But the students really wanted to take their time on their cast drawings. So we only got through, we did the mouth cast drawing and this hand drawing. And that's really all we got to, besides all the lessons. So I teach lessons on like drawing techniques, pencil sharpening, blending, proportion, breaking the figure down into simpler shapes, textures, all kinds of things. So we usually do like a bit of a lesson. First couple of weeks is primarily lesson, and there's some exercises. And then after that first couple of weeks, then the rest of the class, primarily we're doing drawing from a reference cast. And then, we'll stop, throughout and do evaluation, talk about like what we're doing and how it's going, things that we need to work on, fix, things we need to fix, those kinds of things. So all that to say, that was our last class today. We worked on that. And, or this week, I'm sorry. This is my cast drawing that I want to get done. One of the things we talk about, Seth and I talk a lot about, is just as the instructors, making sure that we are always working on something. either with students or in front of the students or just personal projects or whatever, so that they can see us work. Oh, there we go. Now I can get my eye out of the sun. So let's see here. Right now I'm using, this is a 4H pencil, and I'm blocking in some of the darker shadows. I am going to go back over it with an H and a 2B, and then I'll probably in the darkest spots put a little triple to add to it as well, just to really highlight or emphasize the contrast. Part of the problem too that I'm running into, that I'm noticing here, is that I've set up this cast a couple different times, so the light, try to get as close as I can. But there is a slight difference from the lighting from the last time I worked on the drawing. So that's a bit annoying. I am gonna make a little adjustment, and I'm gonna take a little drink of my winter chai. But thank you for joining with me as I'm drawing. Normally, as I said before, Seth and I are on here together. We're a pretty good balance. We have we're very different personalities. So he has a lot more words. I will say that, and he knows that, and I give him a hard time for it. We have fun with it. But yeah, he talks a lot more than I do, and he's a bit more outgoing than I am. I'm pretty laid back. Usually don't have a lot to say. I'll talk on this just because in some ways you don't want to have too much dead air, I guess you would say. Yeah, so we, I think, make a pretty good pair. We're very opposite in many different ways. We're similar in other ways, but we do have very different personalities, so we kind of balance each other out. And we like that. It's a good kind of partnership in teaching, you could say that way. I have a great deal of respect for one another, and I learned so much from him, especially in just the way that he kind of leads and runs this place, and then also artistically. Just as we often joke, I don't do a whole lot of painting. He does a lot more painting than I do, and so I'm always coming up and asking him like rookie questions about how oil paint works. Keep kind of joking with him that at some point I think I might take one of the oil painting classes with him, just so I can learn some of the techniques. My training is primarily in drawing and sequential art, and that's where mainly all my experience is in. And so I will paint from time to time, but it usually ends up becoming an abstract piece because I just haven't spent the time doing the study and the practice. And one thing we talk about quite often are you got some artists that they're so masterful with classical forms of drawing and painting that they move into abstraction intentionally because they are just experimenting, trying new things. And then there are other artists who have not learned the basics very well, and they move on to abstraction as a way of getting around learning the fundamentals. So Seth talks a lot thought about that. Like, just that can be a real challenge, a real temptation for artists, a real challenge to wrestle with that. So, all right, let's see. Now I'm just trying to put in some of these shadows. Hopefully that sun is about disappeared, so it's not getting in my eye as well much. So now I can actually look at my model without having to bend over and block the other camera. All right. All right, I'm gonna take a little more drink of my winter chai, my old man tea, my old man sweater. I love it. I actually, and I've told people this before, I actually really enjoy getting older. Of course, I say that now because I don't really have a whole lot of health issues, thankfully. I'm sure as I get older, my body's breaking a lot more. I will not enjoy it. But I do and have really enjoyed getting older. I think part of it is you tend to care less and less about things that you used to care about. And tends to take away some of that stress that I used to really wrestle with. You just get stressed out about stuff that you know, just life stuff. But as you get older, you just realize, you just think to yourself, why did I care about all that stuff? That makes sense. So it is nice to be getting into that stage of life. I swear, I'm probably going to be one of those old guys. The older I get, the less I care. And I'm probably going to say all kinds of like inappropriate things and do kinds of crazy things, which is fine. I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure the people around me are not looking forward to that because they're going to do damage control, but I'm fine with that. So right now what I'm doing is I'm starting to work on some of the details, but mainly I'm just making sure that some of my the tones on these main shadows are correct. And as part of that, I will go kind of around the whole, whatever I'm drawing, in this case, this hand. I'll go around each part and just make sure it's measured correctly. And then just double check the tones. And I'll make a pass around the whole hand a couple times. And each time I'll make little corrections. And then eventually, the whole thing comes together and it really starts looking like a real drawing. So kind of makes me think of Shrek when they're talking about the Pinocchio. He goes, "I'm a real boy." At some point, you just keep making corrections and you get a drawing. It's a real drawing. And for this initial pass through, I like using this 4A pencil. because the lighter tone, it's much more forgiving than if I were to go in with a 2B or 6B or whatever. And it marks a lot smoother than a 2B or a 6B. Typically with those darker pencils, it's going to pick up the grain of the paper a lot more than maybe this softer pencil. So, all right. All right, it's starting to come together. This finger here is starting to show some promise. This shadow, it's casting. It's a little bit more defined than I have on here, so I'm gonna have to fix that. So one of the things we talk about in our drawing class is to try and avoid putting too much contour drawing in the drawing. And instead trying to define or find lines through a comparison of tones by putting a darker tone next to a lighter tone. And so that's what I'm trying to do right in this area here. So this, I'm probably going to have to go in with, and I might do this here in a second, going with maybe an H. Is that's got a bit of a, it's a bit darker than I've got here. Now, I just noticed that this digit here is a bit of a dent, a little shadow right in here. So I'm going to try and very subtly put that in there. That is a challenge. I was talking to a student today about this, or maybe it was yesterday, I can't remember. But one of the challenges, it was Friday. Yeah, it was yesterday. One of the challenges of drawing either from a cast or from life versus maybe an object is a lot of objects, especially man-made objects. It's not that they're simpler, but they tend not to have as much variation in shading or in tone as a human body does. The human body has all kinds of little, you'll think there's a particular area that the shadow is pretty uniform, but then you look at it a little bit closer and you'll notice a little bit of variation, just the most subtle variation. And those are the hardest ones to really capture correctly. But they're necessary to catch. I think I am going to switch over to my H in the process. A little more winter chai. That's a good winter chai. I'll tell you that. I put a little bit of honey in there for a little sweetness. I'm really enjoying that. All right. So this tone that I'm working on here definitely needs to be a bit darker. When I'm looking at the model, it's kind of dark, like maybe more on this end of things. So I am going to put a little bit of love in this. Let's see. I may see if I can put that other camera a little bit closer so you can see what we're doing. Let me try that. Let me try that for you guys. Let's see if I can move this in. Down a bit. so you can see more closely what I'm doing here. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is, let's see if I can do this. Okay, yeah, that's good. And I can still see, and that's nice and close. I mean, you can see it in this camera right here. You can see it right there, but it's okay. This is not a fancy Hollywood production, so it's fine. I would much rather you see what I'm doing up close than worry about seeing a camera over on this side. So yeah, I think that works out great. Okay, so let's see where I'm at here. So I'm going to put a little bit of a darker shadow here. So I try to be very subtle when I put in extra layers. I don't want to go right in with like a 2B or a 6B. I want to gradually work myself up to that because I want it to be really soft. So the other thing I'm noticing is that I've got a bit of a reflected light here, but there is no reflected light on there. So only thing that I do see is there is a bit of definition underneath the tip of the finger here to let it really like pop off the background. And my hand is kind of blocking light here, so this is a little bit longer, so the shadow here just a little bit. Just a longer. So yeah, the key to realism as a whole, and drawing as a whole, in my opinion, is just being very patient and just slowly building layer after layer after layer. That's how you get the nice soft transition, nice gradation, a lot of really nice realism. So that's what I'm trying to do. I was working with a 4H. Now I've got my H pencil. I'm going to do a little blend. This blend usually lifts some of that graphite out of there, so it'll be a bit softer. And this little area here, there's a bit of a shadow right on the end that's not catching any reflected light. That's a bit darker than the cast shadow. So I will have to go back in with probably 6B, 2B, maybe even a little bit of charcoal, just a touch, just to really emphasize that there. Let's soften that edge up a little bit. Yeah, so it's like I say, just keep going back over it just a little bit at a time. I try not to put in too many sharp contour lines. I'm going to put one in there because that will eventually be quite dark and defined. So I think that's it's looking pretty good, I think. All right, up here, there's a bit of a darker shadow just along this, the bottom of the second digit, or actually it's the first digit of the first finger here. So I'm going to add just a tad bit darker tone, this H pencil. Need to sharpen that up just a tad. So, I like to use a bit of sandpaper. Really helps get the point almost needle-like. When you're working with some of these more subtle shadow shifts, having a really sharp pencil is really helpful. So that's what we're going to do here. That's good. I don't know if you can see. I like to get those really sharp. It's hard to see on there, but it's good to get that nice and sharp so you can get right into the grain of the paper. Give you nice, very subtle transitions. So I'll use my brush, lift it out a little bit, blend that out. Give it a nice soft transition. Good. Yeah, this part right here is the darkest tone of the upper part of this finger. I don't want to go too dark, but I think I'll go back in with my 4H. And it gets kind of dark on this left side of the finger. And then the shadow behind it is quite dark. So I think I'm going to go in with my 2H, or 2B, or not 2B. That was my super nerdy art joke. Hope you enjoyed that one. I specialize in dad jokes. One of the things that we love to do in our house around the dinner table, I've got 4 teenage kids, and we love to all make up our own dad jokes. So we have a lot of fun with that. All right, so now I'm going to go back in with the 2B. Just going to put in just a little bit of definition. The shadow behind this finger is just a tad bit darker. Not by much, just a little bit. And up on this finger, there is a bit of that same tone. I'll put just a little bit. I'm just trying to be very, very, very precise with this. Obviously, you don't need to be afraid of it. It's pretty easy to fix if you put too much on it. And when I go back in with the paintbrush, it's going to lighten it up just a tad, but I also want to be very gentle with what I'm doing here. All right, that's looking pretty good. That finger is really starting to pop, I think. Soften some of the edge up there. So I'll put some of this up here. Can drag some of that graphite over because this second digit is not. It's not quite shadow, but it's not in a straight on highlight either. However, this area right there is. So just want to be careful with that. And let's see here. I've got, okay, the very end of this finger is quite dark. So I'm going to put a little bit extra in there. And all right. So I'm coming to a bit of a point here with this first finger that I may move on to the next part of the finger and then I'll come back. So usually my process is I go through the whole hand, then come back and do the whole process all over again. I think we're at a good kind of stopping point with this hand here. So I'm going to put my 4H back in. Yeah, 4H. Take a little drink of my winter chai and move on to the next little area. But before I do, I'm going to put a little bit of there is a little line here that brings a little definition of that second digit. There's a crease. It's just the most, just very subtle crease. So just be very careful with that. That's good. Blend it out a bit. Needs a little touch up. All right, I think we're going to keep going with this. So now what we're going to do is work on this shadow in here. So this shadow, this one actually, I think I could go in with my H on that shadow, but I want to notice that this finger has a bit of there is some reflected light. So what we're going to do, put a line of shadow of this 4H right around this first digit. And that'll leave this little area a little bit lighter as reflected light. Yeah, that's good. Kind of where the finger pad crease is right here. Yeah. And then it's got also, actually, I did that slightly wrong. I'll take my little. Yeah, it's a little bit better. It's got a, I would say like, it's not quite a double crease, but it's got this line here. And then there's another line under here. It's like yeah, it is kind of like a double crease. Right here. Just like that. And then that. On that side, and a bit of a darker tone right in there. And blend it out. So I'm going to take my little paintbrush, that'll soften everything up. Yeah, I think it's looking good. All right, now and the top there is another shadow goes across. I need to tighten that up a bit. Mm-hmm. This actually goes all the way across. So I'll need to go in with my H there because it's a bit darker than what I've got going on here with my 4H. Soften that up. Okay. Now I need to work on this shadow here. And let's see here. I need to make a slight adjustment, honestly, because this, I probably need to bring this out here. Yeah, so I need to kind of move a little bit of this over. So let's do that. Let's see here. I don't like that. It's a little more. I started drawing and it had become a little more square, so I'm rounding it off a little bit, and then I'm also having to move, make an adjustment with this shadow right here. So okay. All right. This is this number, and this is gonna. Okay. I think I fixed it. Still not convinced. Right. Trying to make a little adjustment to one of these, to this middle finger here is has a little more of a bend in it than what my drawing has. So I'm trying to make a little adjustment to it. Not sure if I'm being exactly successful, but we'll see. I have a little more winter chai. All right. So part of the problem here that I'm seeing is I need to move this over. So it looks like this is right. It's coming down here and then it's going over a bit, which is moving this here like this. Okay. So yeah, so it's a constant measuring and a readjusting. Which is, oh gosh, about that. Which is why, let's see, where was I? There we go. Which is why you have to, which is why I recommend drawing using 4H's or lights, so that making any adjustments is not life or death. It's much easier than if you went in with a darker pencil. So, and if you're new to drawing and you don't know what I'm talking about, so pencils, drawing pencils at least, come in different grades. So H's, the easiest way to remember H is that the lead is hard. So that means that it takes a lot more pressure to push it down onto the page and leave any graphite on the page. So it's going to be a generally speaking, a lighter, it's going to leave a lighter mark. So I like to use those H's when I'm first starting out with a drawing, like I'm in this phase here. And then B's are soft pencils, and so soft pencils, when you use those, leave a lot of, very easy to leave graphite on the page, and so you get you tend to get darker tones with those. So that's what I was saying before. I tend to encourage students to use lighter pencils when they start. What I mean by that is by using H's. All right. Because when you're in a situation like I'm in, when you're trying to adjust a finger a little bit, a bit easier to make that correction when you have a lighter marks on the page. Okay. So let's blend that out just a little bit. Let's blend this out too. All right, I think I was able to adjust. Needs a little more work, but I think we got where it needs to go now. So start working on this shadow here. Middle digit, second digit of the middle finger. I'm going to go back in with an H here in just a second and really hit some of these shadows to help with that contrast. I got a fat finger here. That's what I got. All right. So as I always say before, and I'll say it again 100 times probably, as we always appreciate you all checking us out. Thanks for coming by and hanging out while I draw. And I hope you are drawing as well, or painting, or sculpting, or whatever you like to do. That's one thing we'd love to see happen with this channel. It's just kind of like a community type event where people get on and share what they're drawing and what they're working on, ask a question, have a good discussion. But right now, I am working on cast drawing for one of our classes here. As I was explaining before, we do a drawing from cast reference class, and we draw mouths and ears and hands and feet and torso. And this is part of our hand cast drawing, and I was not able to get it done in class, and so I want to finish it up for the next round of students so that they can see an example not only of my drawings, but also just an example of what a cast drawing looks like in general for our class. So all right, I think I am going to go in with a darker lead at this point, and some further definition, correction, or whatever. Let's see, I'm going to use my H. All right. It is crazy. I just looked over at the time and it's already 7 o'clock. So I've been on here for an hour and it does not feel like I've been on here for an hour. So it's amazing how you get in the zone in drawing and time just like vanishes. You lose track of what you're doing, where you're at, what time it is, and all that. That's one of the beautiful things about art. I think it's almost like a little taste of what eternity feels like. You know, you're just in the moment. You don't have any sense of time. Sometimes you don't even have a sense of place. You're just really so focused in on your drawing or painting or sculpture or whatever you're working on that you just lose all bearing with reality, which is nice. All right. It's slowly coming together now. You know, it is kind of, I mentioned before about how, you really get into a drawing and you're really enjoying yourself and you can lose a sense of time and space. I really love that, but it is interesting that you really have to be enjoying what you're drawing or what you're working on. Like you just become so laser focused at it. Because there have been other times where I'm something I don't want to draw, and it's like pulling teeth. You don't want to be there, and you keep looking at the clock, wondering what time it is. Time just drags on. So, I suppose drawing that's not the only time that experience happens. It probably happens with whatever you're enjoying, whether it's drawing or painting, or could even be things like gardening or whatever hobby you enjoy. I think that sense of eternity, I guess is the way I would put it. That's what it seems like. I need to, this shadow is not correct. Basically, it's a little too dark and the shape is not correct. Down here by the bottom of the finger, but here it is correct. So this I'll need to go in with my 2B. And I swear every time I say that in my head, I want to say or not to be, because I am a super nerd. I really like this shadow here, and I feel like it's pretty close, but I love when you have a shadow and you lose the contour of whatever's the light or whatever object is casting that shadow. It's kind of doing that here, which I really like. So I'm going to try really hard not to lose that, because that's beautiful. Okay, so this is really dark in here. So yeah, so normally if you're joining us, a lot of times it's me and Seth drawing, or I'm drawing and he's painting. That's more winter chai. But he is doing exploration class right now. And we offer the exploration classes. They're 2-hour, typically, I think mainly just oil or acrylic painting. And they're just for someone that's just trying to figure out or try a little bit of painting and see if it's something they want to study more or something that they want to learn more about. So he is downstairs doing that right now. And so I'm on here doing my drawing. And normally I'm doing a big landscape, but for right now I'm doing a cast drawing. So a little more subtle right there. So I think I'm going to move on to the next finger. I think we're in a good spot for that. Oh, however, I think before I do that, I'm going to make this shadow just a bit darker. Just a tad bit darker. So as I said before, I usually will go, just make a sweep all the way around the drawing and just really start working different areas, really help make sure all the shadows and tones are correct. And I'll usually make a pass around like several times. So right now, this is my about second or third pass. Some of the details are really starting to get more defined, and some of the shadows put in a little bit nicer, a little bit neater. So and I try to stay away from a lot of hard contour lines, because I said before, I like to let the tones make the lines rather than me drawing in lines. So yeah, it's kind of how I work these tones. So I'm going to go back to my 4H pencil and move on to the next part of the drawing. Have a little more winter chai. Unfortunately, I'm almost done with that, and I'm really enjoying it. So now I'm going to go to this the ring finger here. Start working on these shadows. This finger has a little bit more really small variations that I may have to wait till the 4th or 5th round to get to. But for those smaller little variations, I'll probably be lifting those out with my putty eraser. So right now what I'm going to do is just get the general tone of the digit and then go back in and really start lifting out some of those sharper or more subtle details. Now this one, whenever I put my hand like this, it blocks kind of the light overhead, so that's unfortunate. Because I'm kind of drawing in the shadow right now, which I don't like. Okay, kind of see what I'm doing. I think we're good so far. All right, let's see here. This also has kind of a more defined area here. Yeah. I appreciate you guys watching, checking us out. I've said this, I feel like sometimes I repeat myself a lot with this, but I never know who's actually watching, and if you've watched before or if you've not. We normally have two of us on here. It'd be me and Seth, and working together and having a discussion. But he is conducting a class right now, so I'm kind of flying solo today and working on my cast drawing for one of our classes. And I use this as a kind of an example of what a cast drawing can look like. So I'm really trying to do a really good job with this one. Oh, I just kicked the camera again. Sorry, this camera is like literally sitting right next to my leg. So I'm trying to get it nice and close so you can see what I'm doing here. All right, so it's got a little lip right here. That. It's got a line right here. So let's see here. All right, there is a little bit of shadow here. Right. Yeah, these shadows in this area are very, very subtle because that light, the highlight is actually hitting down on these fingers because they're kind of bent forward a little bit. So, however, there is a nice dark shadow on this finger here. So I'm going to work that shadow now. So as I said before, in these darker shadows, I don't just reach for my 2B or 6B pencil. I start with the 4H. And I put in my grades, or I put in a draw or shade in the shadow. That's basically what I'm trying to say with my 4H as if it were a 6H. So I just pretend like this is as dark as it's going to get. And go in a couple layers, and then I'll bring out an H and I'll add more tone to that. And then once that's done, then I'll bring in a 2H and add a little more tone to that. And then it just slowly slowly comes to life. All right, this line, your outline right here is very precise. So I'm gonna, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Use my I really like using these paint brushes for blending. It is really nice. It gives nice, really subtle, soft gradients, which is just beautiful. So now it's time to go back in with the H pencil. H pencil is very similar to like a number 2 pencil, or an HB pencil is very close. So all right, so there is the tiniest bit of reflected light on the end of this finger. So what I'm gonna do is switch over to my B pencil, which is here, 2B pencil, or not 2B. And put in the darkest shadow here. And against that H, just keeping that H in there is going to be the reflected light. I'm not even going to need to go in with an eraser, because I'm going to shade everything around it with a darker tone with this 2B pencil. And that's going to help produce that reflected light. I'm trying to be very precise with the shade here. Just say that, and then I'm going to go back in with my paintbrush, and it's going to soften it all up, which is fine because I take it past that, and then that will help bring it a little more definition. So that is turning out very nice. All right. I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm going to switch back to my H and touch up some of these shadows up above. A little more darkness. It's funny, just sitting here in the quiet, I can hear Seth teaching downstairs, which is awesome. I always learn a ton, especially just about how to teach from him, because he has a lot of experience. He has taught for many, many years, so I love bouncing questions and ideas, teaching ideas off of him. So I've learned a ton from him. So it's cool to sit here and hear him teaching downstairs. I learn a lot just listening, how he approaches things. And that is the beauty of having a community style of teaching, because we learn from each other, bounce ideas off each other, and yeah, it's a beautiful relationship that way. All right, let's see here. So above this finger is pretty dark shadow as well. I haven't really gotten up into the palm, so I don't want to do too much here, but I do want to darken it just slightly. So let's see if we got any more of this winter chai. And that was the last of it. It was amazing. Okay. I think we're pretty close to me moving on to the last pinky finger, and then from there, tell you what, this is not bothering me here, even though I've already done this. It's a little too dark, so I'll loosen that up, lighten that up just a little bit. That's the other advantage of these using a paintbrush, is if there's a tone that's too dark, you can move the graphite around, and it will loosen or lightens it up quite nicely. Yeah. This end of this finger, it's a little darkness. Okay, yeah, I'm going to move on to pinky finger. I'm going to switch back to my 4H, and really start working on this area here. So, shadow here, I definitely need to bring in the guns, make it a bit darker. This shadow here as well, it's got a little more definition than I have, but I can go back and fix that. So let's see here, this one is pretty dark all the way down and past the finger, around and past the finger as well. So we got that. And my finger it's a little bent in the wrong way, so we're gonna scale that back just a tad bit. Yeah, it's a little bit better. All right, so let's start with these darker tones. So like I said before, I usually go through with my 4H and I pretend like it's my 6B, and I just go in and darken in some of those areas, some of those shadows. This pinky finger has a pretty strong reflected light on its side coming from the other fingers. So I'm not going to shade all the way over. And shadow goes right up to the edge. That disappears with a highlight, which is over here. And to blend that, so I'm going to use my pencil or my paintbrush. All right, let's see here. Let's make a small adjustment over here. I just keep looking at. Keeps messing me up a little bit. All right, and we're going to move on over here. It's actually quite dark. Or this shadow is really what I'm trying to say. All right, put a shadow over here. Don't need that, so get rid of that. Just lighten that up just a little bit. There you go. Blend that out a little bit. I'm gonna have to go back in a little bit darker, but yeah. A little bit higher. All right, let's move down a little bit here. And get to this area. All right. Back into a dark shadow here. Tip of this finger. Once again, this is where we're gonna use our H, our 4H here now, and then we're gonna go back in with H and then the 2B and keep blending so we get it where we want. need to make this middle part here. Gotta get rid of that one. There you go. All right, let's see. Now I need to put in, I'm going to keep that there, but I'm going to put in a shadow underneath the very edge of the tip of the pinky finger, and that'll highlight that reflected light there. Let's get rid of that. Excuse me. All right, I think this is ready for a beach. Let's see, or 2B is what I meant, or H. Well, I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, Blade, hello. I appreciate you checking us out, coming by and watching the live stream. Just sitting here working on a cast line. Appreciate you guys checking us out. We do this every Saturday night from 6 to 8. We are located in Louisville, Kentucky. This is a visual arts academy and studio. And this is part of our, I don't know if you want to say community and educational building type thing, but we really love doing these live streams, letting people ask questions, watch our process. Normally it's me and, hey, thank you, looking good, appreciate it, thank you. Yeah, been working on this for a little bit now for teach a class on cast drawing, and so I'm drawing this from a cast model of this hand, and trying to finish this up next classes as kind of a example and demonstration type tool to use for teaching. So so we normally get on here and we'll be working on a few different things. A lot of times I've got a really large landscape that I'm working on. Sometimes I'll do that. Last week I did a still life, and a week before that, I think, or 2 weeks before that, Seth was on with me, and he's working on an oil painting of his daughter. And so he'll go through and talk about his process, and then usually when we're both on here, we'll talk process, we'll talk art history, culture, all different kind of things, and then we'll take questions about our process. So yeah, we love doing this. We love getting on here. We love talking to people, answering questions, that kind of thing, and appreciate you all checking us out as well. So today I'm flying solo, and I'm working on this cast drawing right now. Just kind of early on in the process, just really doing a little bit of refining, making sure all my measurements are right, putting in some of the main tones. And then once I do that, I'll go back and then refine some more and some more and some more and some more and some more. So it's just a continual process of just slow addition, slow subtraction, slow refinement until you get a beautiful drawing. So yeah, usually when gets on here, he is a lot louder, uses words, more energetic. When I'm on here, it's more the quiet, calm, relaxing hour as I work on my drawings. So that's kind of where we're at today. Just sitting here working on my cast drawing. Got my old man sweater on, drinking some old man tea, and just enjoying doing a little drawing today. All right, I think I need to switch to the 2B and put in a bit of darker tone around that shadow, around the finger. All right, so put in maybe a little bit darker. So I'm not going to finish it all the way right now. Just trying to put in a loose map of where all the darkest tones are. And then as I go through repeatedly back and forth around the whole thing, it starts to get more and more defined where everything needs to be. So I've got a tone issue right here. So it's really bright against this dark tone here, which is unfortunately not wanting to. There we go. There we go. It's a little bit better. All right, let's see here. I think we need to. I think we're going to start going back into the palm area. And then I need to work around the outside. And then we repeat the process. So let me get up my 4H. Go. And to blend some of this. Yeah, this. All right, it's come along, I think. All right, let's see here. Now, up here, I'll start working on some of these more abstracted tones here. All right, there it is. Right there. All right, so up in this palm area, there's some more defined fine shadows that I need to work on. Just very subtle. Just very subtle. All right, let's see here. All right, let's see. So a lot of these tones in the palm are, it's a lot of little variations that need some really, really light touch to capture them. So I foresee myself going over these areas a lot, just to fix them and adjust and all that kind of stuff, because they are very subtle. So that's where the 4H is really nice. Because you can really get some of those very quiet, smaller tones. This line right here is very sharp, and then we got okay. Lighten this part up just a little bit here. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of this stuff just requires just a lot of going back, making little tiny adjustments, then shading a little bit more, then blending a little bit more, just really. All right, let's see here. Now what I'm going to do is work a little bit on the stone area that it's on. So, for example, in this area, actually, I think I'm going to switch over to the H. Let's see here. All right. So I've got the whole hand kind of where I want it. It's not finished. It's not even close to being finished. But just a second. Shadow right here. But anyways, yeah, so I've got the hand as a general, in a general sense where I want it. As far as the proportions and the main tones and all that. Now it's just a matter of spending a lot of time just going back in and tightening up. Tightening and tightening and tightening. This thumb needs a little work too. It's got a it's a little the shape of that thumb needs to be fixed. It's not quite how it should be. I will just say it. What is this, right? Yeah, I don't like that thumb. It's all right. We'll keep working. Yeah, it needs a lot more work. I may actually work on a little bit here. I don't like that at all, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep moving over here. Keep working on this little area. So it's got, there's a little bit of a texture here that I need to capture. It's got like little grooves. I don't want to put too much work on that right now. I do want to really be careful with this stone. I would like to get it to look as real as I can. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it just right this second. I just more want to start getting the tones right. All right, let's see here. And some of this I'm slightly making up because I'm not drawing the exact marble or plaster that it's on, or as far as the outline of it. So some of this I'm kind of winging it a little bit. It's okay. I'm gonna get it to look as close to what I'm seeing as I can. So yeah, so thanks everyone for checking us out and making comments and posting questions for me, things like that. I really appreciate it. We always love getting on here and doing this. As I said before, my name is Chad Nuss, and I am with the Visual Arts Academy and Studio in Louisville, Kentucky. And we'll be on here every Saturday night. I've got about 10 more minutes that I'll be working on drawing. If you've got any other questions or comments or anything, I'd love to interact with you while we finish up this session. Like I said, normally it's me and Seth, but tonight he is doing an exploration class, and so I'm working on cast drawing. This is for my drawing from cast reference class, and we worked a little bit on this hand drawing as part of their final assignments, and I was not able to get mine finished. And so I'm trying to get this done, especially for future class or classes. You can use this as a reference drawing, so demonstration for the students. Yeah, we really love for you to come by and check these sessions out. We love to interact with you guys. If you have questions or whatever, learn a little bit more about our academy, the things that we hear, and the classes that we teach. And yeah, so I will be just finishing up in the next minutes. I'm just gonna keep working on. This the cast part, or the plaster background part of this drawing. The last few minutes here. don't like this. Thumb is not the way I want it to be. So we're going to fix it. That's a little bit better. I need to fix it. All right. 4H, no. 2B. Well, I need to work on that thumb a little bit more. It's not doing what I want it to do, but that's okay. That's easy to fix. All right, I got about 20 more minutes. So just try to make some adjustments on this thumb. And I'll be calling it a night. So if you have any last minute questions or anything like that, I really appreciate you all checking us out. We'll be on here again next Saturday, working on another drawing. Let's see here. H. All right, well, we're in our last few minutes. I want to thank you again. My name is Chad Nuss with the Visual Arts Academy and Studio here in Louisville, Kentucky. I want to thank you all on behalf of myself, on behalf of Seth, all of our students here at the Academy for coming by and checking out our live stream as we draw and talk and interact with you all about art and culture and process and technique and classes and all of that. So thank you all for checking us out, and we will be back next week, next Saturday, from 6 to 8. Please check us out. Post comments, questions, and we'll even get back to them later if you didn't see this live. So thank you all very much, and I will see you all soon.